Hey everyone, Philip here with a quick bonus episode from our Ask Philip monthly Q&A in the Wits and Weights Facebook community. Today, I'm answering Mike's question about whether you can train for both size and strength at the same time. And this is something I get asked constantly. So if you've been wondering whether you need to choose between getting bigger or getting stronger, this one's for you. And if you want to hear the other 3 questions that we answered this week about balancing running, lifting, and plyos, the creatine coffee debate, and de-bloating after you indulge in some fun foods, join our free Facebook group. Use the link in the show notes. Let's dive in. Mike asks, and Mike just joined the group, so welcome, Mike. Thank you for jumping in and taking advantage of this. Is it possible to lift for size and strength? Most plans emphasize one over the other with moderate versus heavy weights and higher versus lower reps, respectively. So this is an age-old question. I've probably answered it 80 times on the podcast. I'm not saying, hey, Mike, I've answered 80 times on the podcast. I don't mean it like that. I mean it as it is a question that people want to know. I have addressed it many times. So the one episode I threw into you as a comment is strength versus hypertrophy, episode 297, only because that gives you the whole walkthrough of this spectrum and how there is actually a lot of overlap. Okay. And then I also said, hey, by the way, give me more specifics with your question, because the point of Ask Philip is not just a general podcast Q&A. It's you, Mike. How can I help you? So you said, okay, I guess my question is truly generic, but FYI, I've been lifting and tracking my progress for 5 years using the Strong app. My goal has always been to get 1% better by volume. Cool. Love it. Love metrics. Love pushing yourself to get better. I haven't really followed a strict routine for the last few years. Just try to manage to get all the muscle groups in each week. Uh-oh. Okay, little red flag for me, Mike. Maybe that's an area of opportunity for you, and you probably recognize that, right? We want a structured routine, in fact. I typically always do a warm-up, low 8 rep set, form, fit, function, then 2 working sets, like 10 reps within 1 to 3 reps in reserve, a failure set, sometimes a drop set, now sometimes what I call an LSD, low weight, slow movement, deep full range of motion. I know it's probably a lot of quote unquote junk volume. I don't know if it's a lot of junk volume. I mean, look, getting into the gym consistently, training hard, close to failure within 1 to 3 reps, and covering all your muscle groups every week, believe it or not, even though it isn't, like you said, a strict routine, it's a set of principles you're following consistently and multiple times a day. It probably is equivalent to a good routine, to be honest. I'm just going to be honest. Like, junk volume is kind of an old concept. I think there's an optimal amount of volume for you every week. And beyond that, it's not junk so much as going to affect your recovery and your fatigue, right? That's really the concern. You said, I'm interested in getting back to basics, reducing my workout times. Also concerned about injury. I've been using the Smith machine for squat, bench, dead, but my Planet Fitness just got free weights and squat rack, so I may transition over. Okay, we're going to change that to you will transition over, my friend. Stop using the Smith machine for the main lifts, please. They are far more rife to injure you than to help you. And people are like, what? Because, the bar is fixed, and so doesn't that make it safer? No, because it puts you in a rigid plane of motion that may not be the right plane that your body is naturally going to follow, given the bar path and the mechanics of the movement. And it's really not great. The caveat is Smith machine can be awesome if that's what you're trying to do. If you're trying to get rid of the stabilizers, the balance, and you're trying to isolate a movement, isolate a muscle, like your quads. You're going to isolate those quads, and you're going to do it in the right way with the right kind of movement, like, I don't know, a Smith machine, front squat, right? But even then, even then, I don't like those. I don't like those because I've seen videos where people load them up too heavy, and you kind of have the illusion of safety. So, if you could be using spotter arms and things like that, great. I would stay away from the Smith machine altogether until later on as an accessory for light work, to be honest. So you will transition over to barbell. If they've got it, just do it, man. You're going to it'll pay off big time. Continue with your question. I have one vain goal to get to 1,000-pound club squat, bench, dead, and also to continue to improve my lean muscle mass. I'm an engineer too, so I like numbers, data, and analysis. All right. So going back to your original question, can you build strength and size at the same time? Oh yeah, absolutely. In fact, my argument in that episode is that you're doing both almost all the time anyway, right? Like, building strength as a newbie, by definition, will have to build size once you get past the initial neuromuscular adaptation. And then from then on, you're basically complementing one with the other. It's just, are we trying to push strength in terms of max force production? Or are we trying to push maximum muscle size in specific muscles? That's where you get into the subtleties of, I need to do more hypertrophy, or I need to do more low rep powerlifting style strength. And I'm a fan of doing all of it, not necessarily power building all the same time, which is doing both, but cycling through over time to kind of build the base, peak up, work on weak spots, work on your symmetry, whatever the goal is. So I would say like 6 sets per exercise, which I think it comes out to be. Most people, if they're doing like a power building program, you might have 4 to 6 movements in a training session, each being 2 to 4 sets. So like 6 sets of a bunch of exercises probably is too much. But again, it depends on how many days per week you're going in, right? If you're going in 3 versus 6, that makes a difference. The research is, hey, if you're getting 10 to 15 hard sets per muscle group per week, including indirect work, that's usually the sweet spot for a lot of people to balance practicality, time with results. All right, so that's one thought. So if you were to follow a program, there's so many. I mean, I already mentioned we have some in Physique University that can do this exact thing. I have one that you would really love called Ironclad. It's a set-based progression. I really think you'd love that. It's built on concepts that I learned from Alex Bromley. But we also have a power building template that is more of, hey, here's your main compound lift, here's a developmental lift, and here's some accessory work in a higher rep range. So the main compounds are down in anywhere from like 3 to 8 reps. My particular power building program cycles every 3 weeks. Again, that's a philosophy or a principle that I learned from some other coaches. So it goes, 1 rep range and then a heavier rep range and then the heaviest rep range and then repeat. So main compound, developmental compound, 2 or 3 accessories, going to 1 to 3 reps in reserve for most things is perfectly fine approach. Big compound lifts, you can go as light as far as 4 reps in reserve. Accessory work, you go all the way to complete utter failure because, it's safe to do so, and everything in between. All right. So how's your recovery, man? How's your fatigue? How are you actually making progress? Are you measuring your measurements? Are your PRs going up? Like, that's what I would say to you here is, what's your baseline now for data? How have you been progressing? Don't fix what's already working, but definitely try some of the things I'm talking about right now. Get rid of the Smith machine. Ironically, it's going to be safer for your back, okay? Because your body's going to move more naturally versus a fixed bar path. I've got a guy coming on the show we recorded, and his name is Dr. John Russin. You might have heard of him. He's a pretty big name in the PT kind of space, but he's also big into lifting. And he talks about the central line of safety, which is basically from your hips to your shoulder, having that strong neutral back. Sometimes you can't have that with a Smith machine, right? And so again, free weights. So pick a proven program that is structured, follow it for 12 weeks, track everything and see how they progress. Eat right, sleep right, depending on what your goal is. I mean, if your numbers are trying to go up, you're going to want to, something like Ironclad that I mentioned will help you peak for that at some point. There are other programs I could recommend do that. Be in a slight calorie surplus, and you're good to go. So let me know how that hits you, man. If there's any follow-up, anything I didn't answer below in this video, and I'll answer it. All right, that's it for this bonus episode. If you want your specific question answered in our next Ask Philip monthly Q&A, join our free Wits and Weights Facebook community on Facebook. Just search for Wits and Weights or click the link in the show notes. And if you want the structured programs, the templates I mentioned in the episode, like Ironclad or Resolute for power building, check out Physique University. Go to witsandweights.com/physique. And that is it for today. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.